the Art and Hustle podcast, a gallery of conversations, a space where you can hear all the amazing stories and life lessons of my guests. I'm your host, Linda Chung, fashion designer turned multimedia artist, and I want to give you a space to tell your story. Welcome to the Art and Hustle Gallery of Conversations. Thank you for joining me today. Today we have Donna. Welcome.
Hi.
So first, I'm going to start off. Tell me a little bit about you and your art, your background.
Sure. Let's see. I grew up in Brooklyn, so I'm a New Yorker. I've been up in the Hudson Valley about 25 years. I ran a school here, so education is a passion of mine.
Yeah.
I also have a dance background. And in 2012, when I closed, we closed the school.
Yeah.
I kind of was like, I really want to give energy and effort into, pursuing a particular style of drawing that I started doing when I was about 19, which is symmetry art, using both hands at the same time, drawing simultaneously. And I wanted to see what would happen if I really dedicated time each day, like I did my 10,000 hours, to see. So I kind of developed this daily practice.
Yeah.
And I draw on, big chalkboard wall in my living room every day. And it enables me to, have explorations. I really like to use my whole body when I draw. I like to draw to music. It's bittersweet because it's ephemeral, so I don't get to save anything.
Yeah.
But it really also causes me to have to really be in the moment, which I really like.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine actually came up with the name spontaneous symmetry to describe the process, because it is kind of like that. It's like this spontaneity and this fun design, and anyone can do it, which is really fun.
So every day when you do it, and then you wipe it away at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that Indian art. I forgot the name of it, but they spend meticulous hours pouring the sand of the colors, and then at the end of it, they just wipe it away.
Yes.
And people are just like, oh my God, you spent all those hours making that beautiful art, and then it's gone. Then it's like, it's kind of like a law of detachment to like not attach yourself to, art or whatever it is, right?
Definitely. I mean, like I said, that it pushes you into the moment. It makes you really like go, okay, this is really about being present and being with that. I always kind of think of it as when my chalk hits the wall, that's my point of contact, but there's so much going on to get to that point. And that kind of creates that expression, but it's that moment almost before I do the drawing, I feel is the most important piece, because when I surrender to it, I always do my best drawings. And when I don't, I always can tell.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's why I love it. That's why I started also this podcast to like talk to all the artists that have been to my art shows or whoever crossed my path to find out like how you got to where you are and how you get into the zone of that, that magical place where you just time disappears and all of it just becomes like this beautiful like synchronicity of like everything, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what kind of teaching were you doing? Were you doing art or something else?
Well, I mainly taught preschool, and I taught art and dance and movement, and I directed. I did everything. And most recently, I started teaching older kids, which has been really fun, going into like being a teaching artist. Going into schools, middle schools, and working with older kids has been really fun too. Actually, I have a teenager as well. So.
Yeah, she came to one of my shows too, right?
Yes, she did.
That's awesome.
Those were so much fun. Oh my God. I still like sad that COVID kind of put the kibosh on some of
I
those.
know. Hopefully it'll come back, when it starts to all settle down and everything. But yeah, I appreciate you being at, I think it was the Biggie show that you were at, right?
Yes, my favorite piece, and I sold it too, which, I'm not used to selling, because my work is chalk, it erases. So I don't always think about selling my work, but that was exciting. And it's still one of my favorite pieces.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Did you sell it that night?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's amazing. I love that. And then how did you meet Boogie and Rez? That's when I found you on like some of their pages on Instagram.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of how I think just through kind of the art scene in Poughkeepsie, maybe at an event or through some of the artists up here.
Yeah,
they're some of my favorite people. We just did a collaboration at the Artifact in Poughkeepsie. I ran an art camp this summer. It was really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they came and did an afternoon with the kids. And, I love providing opportunities for young people to meet artists who are, that's what they do for a living. Really can see but I love the name Art and Hustle because it really is a hustle. But it can be really fun and exciting and rewarding, and you can live a life as an artist. It's possible.
What kind of advice would you give younger people? Like, I want this podcast to be like a nice little place for people to get advice from like living artists like you.
My advice, there's a few things I definitely distilled over the years. One is practice. Like, when you're not inspired, go to your discipline and just practice. Do it every day, as much as you can every day. And sometimes working through those moments where you feel the least inspired is usually when you break through into something new. And having the discipline of practice kind of helps you get through those moments of you're just not feeling it, and you're like, you kind of create this momentum of like, no, I'm going to keep going anyway. And it has never failed me. Perseverance is important for sure.
Definitely, like momentum to keep doing it, and then like you never know what your next inspiration will come from, basically, right?
And I think, I think a lot of artists are more instinctual people, like I operate definitely from my instinct. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I'm more of a visual learner. And I don't know, I guess coming to the other piece of advice that I would give is come to terms with the type of creative you are, and give make time for it. It actually was advice I got from dance therapist Susie Totora. She was my neighbor. And she's amazing, brilliant dance therapist. And she was like, if you're a creative person, like, you need to set aside time like you would to pay your bills or do your job or, plant your garden, do the things you do, like make it part of your everyday life. Like, you're gonna allow space for that. And maybe that looks something like pacing around your house, or maybe you're doing 5 different things at once, like just kind of letting, I've gotten into that habit, and I usually get my best ideas when I just kind of go, okay, for the next hour, I'm free. I'm just going to let myself, I have my setup. I have my, whether I'm drawing or I'm working on another project, I kind of like, see what happens. That's kind of like that passion for spontaneity, and improvisation that I like.
Do you set a time like specifically every day, or it's just make sure you just do it every day?
Well, to be honest, usually it's like a fight with my brain every day. Because I have a routine. It's like I have a few things I have to do, and then I, you know, take my shower and I always have my outfit because and this is a thing I got from when I studied Martha Graham. When I was a teenager, I had the privilege of studying while she was still alive. I never got to meet her, but I was in that studio when she was in the building once. It was so amazing. And she really had this thing about wearing black and like you put on your black dance attire and you become colorless. Like you become, it's now about the art. Like your ego's not there. You know, you're kind of, and I think like someone who might study karate, they put on their uniform. You know, there is some ceremonial component to that. And so that's kind of like my morning routine is whenever I get to that point where I could, because that's the fun part. I'm like, okay, accomplished all my tasks. And
now I get to put on
like fun. You know, and sometimes it's 15 minutes. And sometimes I only have, you know, 15 minutes, which is fine because the drawings are really quick. And sometimes I can go for, you know, an hour, 2 hours.
So today do you record them?
Mostly I do. I've learned to, and that's another reason why I always put on my dress. Because you never know what you're going to get. And I have done some really cool stuff, but I'm in my pajamas and I'm like, I just can't.
You're like, no, I'm not kill me. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, I have that same issue where I wanted to start the podcast, but like, I got to put myself together for these podcasts, you know? So like most of the time, and since it's COVID, like I'm not put together. I'm in my pajamas, nothing, you know, like I'm a hot mess. And like, so you have to like put yourself together. I like to light a candle or like put music on or the TV on. Like TV is kind of like my music a lot of times. And I'll just put everything on, you know, make sure I'm in a nice space, you know, and then like get into that zone where I'm like, okay, what do I feel like? I have to put like all the paints out on the table, all the beads. Like I just need to see everything. And then I have my canvas, and then the canvas technically will speak to me of like what it wants to be, or the fabrics and the paints, whatever is around me will tell me what it wants to be. And that's as an artist, like it took me a while to get to that point, to finally get to the point where I was like comfortable to just do whatever it is that I wanted to do, you know, because I think when I was in school, I was always like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this type of art. I'm going to learn how to do this type of art. But like, I wasn't really sure like which one I wanted to focus on until finally I was like, I'm just going to do art. I don't really want to think about it. Just going to do it. And that's when it finally hit me where I was like, this is it. Like, this is what my art is, you know? So it's technically 3 types of art that I do now, that when I finally just gave into the process of it all, you know? So it's a great space to finally get to when you're like, yes, that's it.
Right.
You know? So that's the same as like when you finally like went back to that type of art that you used to do when you were 19, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it has been, I don't know, I think I stuck with it because one, I just out of sheer, I have not yet gotten bored because it's always kind of leading me into new things. And I'm constantly exploring the brain and working with the body. And there's so many applications. And I forgot what I was saying. What was I talking about?
Well, I think that it's tapping into two of your passions technically, right? It's music, or dance, and art, and you combined it together, right? So that's amazing to be able to tap both of them in. So like you just totally get lost into it.
Well, it's definitely satisfying, and one of the things that happened over as I was kind of faced with this problem of, I really love drawing big. How am I going to do this? Like, I can't afford rolls and rolls of giant paper. Like it became this, like, how am I going to keep going? And that's when I had like, eureka, I had a hallway, I had a little wall. And I was like, okay, chalkboard. Yes, I could do this, and it became this like, something I learned many, many moons ago, was like, set a limitation and then work with that for a while, and then let that kind of guide you. And I think that limitation of the board and the fact that it is ephemeral, like that in itself started to give birth to something now that I can't, if I go too many days without drawing, I'm like, oh.
It's like eating or breathing, like to artists, like they need to create, they need to, have that outlet.
Yeah, right? For sure.
So is your daughter also artistic also?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes. She's a first and foremost singer, songwriter. She's been writing songs since she's very, very young. She's also an amazing visual artist, and a writer, and she's getting into photography now. So she's definitely kind of pouring out of her.
That's amazing. Sure. And when did you move out of Brooklyn?
Oh gosh, I was in my mid-20s. I moved up so that I had a group of friends, and we were starting a school together.
Oh, that's amazing.
About 25, 26, 27 maybe. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was in Croton. So I've been in a lot of the towns up the Hudson Valley, but I've been in Beacon the longest. I've been here almost 10 years. And it's been a great place to also explore, being an artist, because it has been pretty friendly, artist-friendly town.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, one of my other questions is, how did art save you? Because I feel like everyone always has like an obstacle or like things that's hard to get through, and art's always been like a vehicle to like express ourselves. So it can be like an obstacle, or technically, or how did art save you? So it can be whichever way.
I could think of so many like moments in my life where art has saved me in different ways. Like in high school, it was dancing, because it kept me in school. Like, I don't know if I would have stayed and graduated, but I had this glue that kept me going. And then I think, as I was emerging out of like finishing one career, getting a divorce, like art once again saved me, because I was like, I created kind of a new life for myself. One that was more, I felt even more authentic to, kind of my roots and my passions. And now I get to integrate all my worlds, which I really love, because I can teach, and I do workshops. Actually, I have 2 dancers coming over tonight. I'm so excited. We're going to just play. They are coming to my studio. I have in my living room, I have 2 chalkboard walls. So my whole living room is black. And I'm going to do a little workshop. So one of the things I really love doing is doing collaborative symmetry with groups of people. Working in couples, working in 4s, working in larger groups. It's a really fun.
It's interesting. Yeah, I've never done that, so I'm gonna have to do that one day with you.
Oh, definitely. It's fun. I hope to do more as it gets safer to do so. And it's something that could be done outside. And I'd like to do more of that, because that's it's a tool that everyone can do, because we all have a brain, like we all get symmetry, our bodies get it. And I've never, ever, ever, ever had anyone upset or sad. Ever. People always come and they smile, they do it. It's like, wow, because first of all, no one thinks they could do it. They go, oh my God, it looks so hard. It's not. It's very natural. It's very normal. You just have to pick up the 2 pens and try it. But when we do like a mirror thing, and I'm working with 2 people, it's amazing to see like so many things drop away and all the senses are just tuned into each other. And you have this really beautiful non-verbal communication going on.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot. You learn a lot about each other, a lot about yourself, a lot about leadership.
So you have like the couples are drawing it simultaneously, or each person's drawing their own?
But we try all kinds of ways. So it'll be like opposite each other, and they're mirroring each other with like, I call it a quadradoodle. So it's four hands.
Yeah.
Side by side, different ways, trying inversions. There's so many fun ways, exercises you could do.
So it's kind of like art therapy also. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I'm working on in the next couple of years is really there's a lot of methods out there. So part of it is learning some of what's out there and also developing what I've been doing. And because I've had wonderful results with people so far, just playing around. Yeah. So I think it does have therapeutic application.
Yeah, I totally think so. I mean, like, that would be like beautiful to have like an art therapy where you can work with people and like children or whatever and like get that out of them, get them like out of their head,
Yes.
do that.
Yes. If anything, I always say, like, when I do a workshop or, even from my own practice, if I walk away from the experience and I feel good, then it was a good experience. Yeah. It doesn't have to be, fireworks every time. It doesn't have to be found every time. It just has to make you feel good.
Yeah, and that's what all of us have to get into a comfortable place where, as long as we are happy with it, as long as we're good with it, it's like putting art on Instagram. Like, you have, as an artist, like, you're putting yourself out there, so you have to be okay with, like, as long as you love it and you're happy with it, it's okay if somebody else doesn't like it, as long as you're okay with it, you like it yourself and you're happy with it, then you're good.
Yeah, listen, I'm really grateful for Instagram because, first of all, funny story is everyone kept saying, you got to go on Instagram. You got to go on Instagram, because I'm older and I was, so it took me a long time. But what got me was I was in London. It was 2017. And there was this guy, he was busking, which I haven't seen in years and years. And he was selling and he did this beautiful line work. I was like, oh, kindred spirit. And we started talking, and he was like, yo, you got to get on Instagram. I went home to my sisters and I was like, I got to do this right now. And literally since then, it has been so interesting because I didn't think that anyone would be interested in my videos, but it's been so nice because I feel like I could share my work, because otherwise it doesn't really, it exists in my experience, but being able to share it on that platform kind of gives it something. I mean, it's not like I'm making any money off of it or anything. It's just like I get to share it with the world. Yeah. But the interesting thing, and going back to the advice, so this is my advice number 8.
Yes. Give me all the advice you have. I love
it. Is that just go for it. Like you said, like, you never know. Like, sometimes my favorite videos will get like 4 likes, and like the things that I can't stand will get 400 likes. Like, it's just so random. Like, you just really don't know, but it's like, just go for it. Go for it. And you just, I've gotten so many gigs, commissions, people wanting a, mural, or I designed someone's Converse sneakers. And,
cool.
And a lot of that came through, people learning about my work through Instagram. So, that has been a really helpful tool.
Yeah. That's actually one of my other questions. So, like, which one's your best, like, social media outlet to get your art out there?
That's kind of been it, only because I'm really not that tech savvy. I'm like, that's about all I can handle. My website is like, okay, it's a little out of date. But yeah, Instagram's kind of where you could find, I'd like to get into Patreon.
I don't even know what that is.
Patreon's kind of cool. It's like from what I understand, it's like you people can sign up to kind of be a patron for like $5 a month. So if you get 200 people at $5 a month, like you're making some money, which is really nice.
So that's kind of like OnlyFans too, where you have to pay to view what your content is.
Yeah, you kind of get, you get like special access to certain content, which is, that whole, it's just like, wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not that well known enough. Like, I don't think I'd get enough followers yet. So
is it only for artists? Is it only for artists?
Oh, no. There's all kinds of people do Patreon. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, like I haven't have like a clear project. I think I'd like to activate something like that.
Okay.
But I feel like unless I have something really specific, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, unless you had like workshops, right? That people can go. Okay, you can come onto site paid, like this is a workshop I've been doing, and then you'll teach you something like that. Maybe it would work.
Yeah. It's a digital world, it's not easy for, I mean, I'm 48. I don't mind saying my age. And
well, I'm 45. You're not much older than me.
Not far behind. And I appreciate all the, the digital world and all it can do, but I do feel parts of me are like, I'm not that interested.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I could do without it.
Yeah, like I like Instagram. I think Instagram's my favorite one. I also use Facebook too, because Facebook really helped me during COVID. I was selling a lot of my masks on Facebook.
Right.
So I actually sold more masks on Facebook than I did on Instagram, which was interesting, So another question I have is also, how did COVID and the quarantine like affected you and your art? Like, did you get more inspired? Was it harder?
I was very, very productive. I did a lot of drawing. It kind of kept me sane. I did a lot of deep dives. I did a lot of I must have done about 1,000 sticky notes worth of doodling. And again, like doing things like starting, going in specific directions, and then it would evolve into something else using left hand, right hand, like all kinds of, interesting activities that just to keep myself busy and to practice. So I did a lot of that. And then I did a lot of research. Actually, I started really digging into my local history. So that took up quite a bit of time, but that was a really fun deep dive.
Local history of your area or what?
Yes. In Beacon, we have an interesting, it's an interesting moment in history that she was part of. This is back in 1702. She and her husband were the first, I guess, colonists. I call them the first gentrifiers of Beacon. Really, because that's, they were the first to build the house. It's the oldest house on, and they're considered the establishers of this.
Okay.
There was a whole tribe here before them, and there were people living here. So I spent time really trying to unravel these stories and find where did these people come from and how did they get here and how did they meet and why? And I'll tell you the one exciting piece and that's all I'll say, because I could go on for hours about it, because it's so interesting. But one very interesting arc I was exploring was the history of schools. And I kept going. So I went back from, because I ran a school. So I'm very familiar with the Board of Regents, and they give all the licenses to New York State schools, and they were established by Columbia University. And Columbia University used to be King's College. And I was reading about this governor who was one of the pre-founders of King's College. His name is Lord Cornbury. And I was like, oh, okay, who's this guy? So I find out that he is known as a cross-dresser.
Oh.
And he's known to, address the New York Assembly in drag. He was quite
Really?
a character.
Wow.
But he was also the cousin of Queen Anne.
Mm-hmm.
He's got quite a story, his life story. No, we don't learn about him in school.
Yeah.
But when he arrives, it's his like friend, Roger Brett, who marries Katharina Rambout, who becomes, who they are the people who live it. She inherits the land from her father.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's a long story, but thinking about like learning about how all of these stories intertwine and connect and actually connect very, very deep into the roots of how this country was established.
Yeah.
The Dutch, the English, the French, the Iroquois, the enslaved people, the free people, there was so much going on at that time. And it was just a very, very interesting time. So I'm trying to uncover all the stories so that we're looking back at history, we're not just seeing one slice.
Yeah. And then you'll have to do some drawings for it.
Let me tell you, I have all these crazy, I'll show you a minute of the madness.
Show me.
When I was doing the research, this is the research. I used sticky notes.
Yeah.
To keep track like of the timeline and how all the things connect.
Yeah.
And then I started doing these kind of like, I'm just sorry.
How everything's connected.
Like little mind maps.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. Actually, I'm working on a project for the Howland Cultural Center this year. It's their 150th anniversary.
Oh, okay.
So I'm super excited about that. That's something up and coming.
Yeah. So you're going to do like an art project for them, or are you going to do something else?
It's going to be some kind of historical, relevant installation. I think I want to do a whole bunch of things because it's going to be like a year's worth of celebrating.
Yeah.
So definitely want to have some artists in mind that I'd like to get involved. And I'm like, ooh, I love bringing artists together. And
yeah, totally. That's why I love when I saw your page on Instagram. I mean, like that's how Artandhustle started. Like I went through a divorce and I was like, I had this voice that kept telling me, you need to do big art. Like you need to do big art. And I'm like, all right, I guess I have to go to the, AC Moore. And I just got like a whole bunch of 30 by 40 canvases. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what kind of art I'm doing, but apparently I need to just do some big art because like, like having kids and marriage, you got to lose yourself. Like I lost the artist that I used to be. And I was like, I just have to do some art.
Yeah.
So from that folded to me doing a bunch of art to me being like, okay, well, I think I'm ready to show it now. So I need to figure out how I can show my art. And obviously I can't get into a fancy gallery. So I was scrolling through Instagram and Dylan, a guy that I was working with in Gowanus, had a little ad saying they're looking for artists for, an art show. And I was like, well, I'm available. Can I be in it? So that's it. So that was my first, like I basically did my first solo show and like rented a room there and then was there for like months and months. And that was it. I started there and then I was like, okay, well, I think I want to start having my own shows. And then the Artandhustle name just popped into my head. I'm like, I think I want to call it Artandhustle. Yes. And I found, so all the people I found were all from Instagram.
And
I
feel like I've met some of the coolest artists. I love it's like a little, community of people you find, different pockets like there's a whole slew of people who do similar work that I do, very kinesthetic type of drawing. And it's just so cool to support, each other and get inspired by each other. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, it was just beautiful to have like a nice space where like race didn't matter. Like what kind of art you didn't matter. It was like just a non-judgmental, beautiful space where anything you did, put it up. Like you did it. Obviously it's beautiful to you and to anybody else who sees it and feels it, put it up. Like It's great. Put it, you know, so I was happy for anybody who wanted to come and share their art and perform their art or their music, everything.
I can reflect that that's how it felt being there in your space. It was so welcoming and warm and also just like cool. I mean, like everyone was just, I don't know, it was just very authentic and it was a vibe I hadn't felt like since like going, I don't know, like back in the day, not that I'm that old, but you know, New York City, what it was like in, you know, the late 80s, early 90s, you know, when I was kind of going to clubs and some of the spaces were just really free and
that's exactly the conversation I had with my girlfriend, where she was saying like there was just an energy in the room of the shows, and I was like, you know, you're right, because like I was watching this documentary about Studio 54 on Netflix, and they had created this like energy where everyone felt free and everyone felt like happy to be themselves. And so she's like, yeah, like you just at any moment in the show you just stop and you just watch everybody, like everyone's just having a good time, everyone just like is happy to meet somebody else and just see their art and just enjoying themselves. That it was just a beautiful energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my dreams, one of the things I loved, I think I was still in high school, but the Copacabana, every last Thursday of the month was a drag night. And this was before RuPaul was famous.
Yeah.
And they would like run the show, but it was the best music, and everyone, not just the drag queen, but we all got dressed up.
Yeah.
Like crazy outfits. And it was a way of expressing ourselves.
Yeah.
And the music was fabulous. We danced all night. Like we looked forward to it all month. We planned every, like our outfits. Like we put a lot of energy into it.
That's a great idea, actually, because I have a friend who has a lot of drag queen friends. So maybe we might have to do an Artandhustle, Artandhustle like drag queen.
Oh man,
extravaganza events or something. That sounds like fun.
That'd be really fun.
I think that would be fun.
Bring it back. Bring that spirit back.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Let the people know your Instagram handle.
Okay, so it's donnamikkelsen.art, DonnaMikkelsen.art. That's a mouthful. I should shorten it somehow.
Don't worry, I'll add it into.
Okay. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you.
Catching up with you. And
thank you so much.
Let me know when you do your next event. I definitely
will. Thank you so much, Donna.